Hello, welcome back to Mrs. Moriarty's art class. Today I'm going to be showing you how to shade a sphere using colored pencils. I'm just going to be using primary colors for this exercise. I have a cyan, a magenta, I have a cool yellow, and a cool red, and an ultramarine blue. So I'm going to start by shading the sphere, actually just by kind of coloring it in. So right now I'm kind of just putting down a flat layer of color. And then after this, I'm going to show you how to use cross-hatching in order to layer your colors. So again, just putting down a flat color of yellow as a base. And then I'm going to slowly build up my layers using cross-hatching. Okay, so now that I have a base layer down, I'm going to start layering colors. And for this exercise, I'm not really kind of aiming towards a specific colored sphere, but I am going to just start layering. So I just grabbed a cyan colored pencil. Yellow and cyan is going to make a green color. And as I layer and cross-hatch, I'm going to make sure that my hatch marks are curved in the curved direction like this. So I might be doing some hatch marks this way, and then I'm going to go back in and do some cross-hatching on top of that. So again, just kind of hatching and layering some lines on top. I'm going to start by going around where my highlight would be. So if the light is coming in this direction, I'm going to just start hatching in the shape of this sphere. And I want my marks, I might have to, rotate as I go to make it comfortable for when I'm drawing. And the reason I want my hatch marks to be in this curved pattern is because I want to try to get this illusion that it's a sphere. Started as a circle, which is a flat shape, and we're trying to get form. In order to get that illusion of form, those marks have to go in the shape of whatever object you're drawing. In this case, it's a sphere, so I want my marks to be going around in the circular form. So again, with colored pencils, always start slowly building up your layers. You don't want to get this waxy, burnished look right away. You want that to come as you go. So right now I have all of my marks going in this direction. Eventually, I'm going to want to have the marks kind of going in an opposite direction too. So I might have some marks kind of like coming down in this direction. If you think of it, I'll draw it on the side here. This is your circle. You'll have marks going in this direction. Okay, and then you can have some marks going in that direction as well. Okay, so those are kind of like the way your marks should be placed down. So I'm just building up this color. It's turning out to be a greenish color with some hatching. So now I might want to change my color. I want to start to build maybe a core of shadow in here, and I want it to be a darker color. So I might grab my red, or I might grab my ultramarine blue. I'll grab my red, because right now I have a green color down, and the opposite of green is red. So I'll start to make a neutral color by layering greens and reds together. And I'm putting this in the core of the shadow, which would be around here. You have your highlight, which is the brightest part. You have your midtone, which is your local color. Whatever color the object is, that's going to be the truest color right there. And then you have the core of the shadow, which would be in this place where I'm placing the red. Kind of looks like a crescent moon shape as it goes around that sphere. And I'm just going to start layering these hatch marks on top. And again, this is just one way to layer with colored pencils, is using hatch marks. You'll probably, as you get into any kind of projects, do several different ways of layering. Scumbling, little circles, just blending. And so I kind of want to have a transition from the shadow into this green area. So I'm going to take my cyan colored pencil again and kind of blend that back in. And so I'm just hatching where two colors meet in order to blend. And what's nice about hatching is, if you see it, you create these little kind of windows between the lines. And those little windows kind of allow the other colors underneath to show through, which creates more interest, more layers. And you just slowly build up this saturation as you're going. When you're hatching, you want to try to make sure that the length between lines are pretty equal as you're going, so you don't have like kind of like random hatch marks going on. So again, I'll just continue to build up my layers until I get to a color I want or the value that I want. I'm hopping back to this red to build up my core of the shadow. I might apply it a little bit more heavy-handed. And hatching is great if you want to have more expression in your line work and your mark making. And then, because this is a red color, I might just take, if I want to neutralize that a little bit more, my cyan, which is a green blue, back on top to neutralize it if I don't want it so red. Again, just building up that value slowly. And then I might take my yellow to kind of help to blend this green back into the highlight area. The more I layer, the more saturated the colors become. So now I'm getting this kind of sphere shape, which is the goal, to get that illusion of this sphere. And I'm just going to kind of continue layering and layering and layering until I get, you know, again, the color or the value I want. Down here, there's always going to be a little bit of reflected light on a sphere, especially if, let's say that you have a sphere that's on a light colored table surface, you might have some reflected light. So that's why I'm leaving that down here a little bit lighter. It's not as bright as the highlight, which is the brightest point on an object, but you'll have a little bit of reflected light there. So now I'm just going to take a color, I'll just take my ultramarine blue to create this shadow. And just layer a shadow down. Just as a base, I'm going to layer on top of that. Take my cyan, and build up some dark here. Take some red. Again, you can always put a base down first and then start hatching. Now, a cast shadow is flat on a table, so that's why my marks can be more flat heading out. Good little cast shadow. So this is one way of blending with colored pencils, hatching and building up those layers. And another way is just kind of scumbling. So again, I'm going to layer down a base coat of yellow. I'm starting with yellow just because it's the lightest color. And it makes for a nice highlighted area. I could leave some of the white of the paper if I wanted to, as well, for the highlighted area. So I'm actually going to, instead of starting with cyan, I'm going to start with a crimson red. I'll get more of an orange colored sphere. And really, 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 really lightly, I'm just going to use almost like these little circles and blend using little tiny circles as I go around. Again, always slowly building up the layers, letting those under layers show through. And I'm just layering, and I'm getting this red-orange color as I go. Still kind of, when I'm layering, going in that shape of the sphere. Okay, then orange, the complement orange would be blue. I'm just going to choose my cyan color and layer that into the core of the shadow to start to build this core. Again, think of it as a crescent moon shape that's wrapping around, disappearing, and then kind of getting wider towards the center of the sphere. Again, a light touch at first, slowly building up those values. Taking yellow to blend a little bit of this. I might take the ultramarine blue to even go darker and deeper in that core. And you just build it up to the value that you want in the color that you want. Transition from that shadow into that highlight. I might use a little bit of a glow of a red and bring that back down into the shadow. And so the goal is to get this range of values on the sphere, so it get this illusion that it has form. And then I could come out of this cast shadow here. Just going to layer a color down and then add more. The light is coming from the left, so that cast shadow is going towards the right. Build it nice and dark towards that base. And then just have it blend out. You can add those colors that you used in the core of the shadow to help unify it. So you want to have some of these colors that are in here in the cast shadow as well. Okay, so for some of your exercises, I want you to create a couple spheres. Just trace anything. Oh, I traced the lid. Here it is. Just the inside of this lid here, and I traced some circles. Use a compass if you have anything, or whatever you need to trace a circle, and then create a cast shadow. Try one with the cross hatching. Try one with maybe scumbling. Again, it doesn't matter what color your spheres are. I just want to see that you're getting this range of values and getting this core shadow in here, okay, and this cast shadow. So think about those 5 elements of light: the highlight, the midtone, the core shadow, some reflected light, and the cast shadow. Okay, can't wait to see your results. Have fun.